How to configure the Optigo 10, Control Mode 3, Cascade Connected Supply Air Control with Room Extract Air Temperature Influence. Welcome to Regin Academy. In this video, you will learn how to set up the third of the 5 available control modes on the Optigo 10. In this tutorial, we will configure the controller to heating with a 3-point actuator signal. Please note that in Control Mode 3, the program uses digital output 3 for fan start. The input for fan indication, digital input 1, must be connected and follow the fan output. In other words, if the output closes, the input must also close, or an alarm will be triggered. If there is no fan to start, the simplest solution is to use a relay on digital input 1, which closes when digital output 3 is active. The configuration is done on the unit itself, using the display and the control knob. To enter configuration mode, press and hold the encoder knob for 10 seconds. At 3 seconds, the display will show the clock and scheduler menu. Keep holding the knob depressed. Once in configuration mode, turn and press the knob to select Control Mode 3. In menu 3.1, enter what type of actuator to control, 0 to 10 volt or 3-point. In this configuration, we select 3-point actuator. This enables menu 3.A, which is where we set the actuating time. That is, the total time it takes for the actuator to go from closed to fully open. The default setting is 120 seconds, but for this example, we configure the controller to work with Regin's own RVAN5-24 actuator. In that case, the actuating time is 3 seconds per millimeter. So with a stroke length of 20 millimeters, we need to set this value to 60 seconds. Next, let's configure the outputs. With 3-point actuator configured, one digital output is used to send an increase signal and the other to send a decrease signal. With no more digital outputs available on the controller, this means that 3-point control limits us to only one sequence. Consequently, we are now able to select heating or cooling only. For this example, we select heating. Menu 3.4 is where we set the P-band, which is the proportional deviation required for the output signal to go from 0 to 100%. A higher P-band results in slower control, and vice versa. In menu 3.5, we set the I-time, which determines how fast the output signal changes. A lower I-time results in faster adjustments, and vice versa. In this configuration, we also have access to menu 3.6, where we set the P-band cascade. In essence, this determines how quickly the indoor temperature affects the output signal for the supply air. Next, we can configure the use of universal input 1, which depends on how the outputs were configured. Note that even if all 5 options are visible, not all are selectable in this configuration. For this example, we select option 1. In menu 3.8, we set the minimum temperature allowed for the supply air. This is to avoid blowing too cold air into the room, which isn't very pleasant for the occupants. So it's preferable instead to let it take a little longer to cool the room. The default setting is 15 degrees. Conversely, in menu 3.9 we set the maximum temperature allowed for the supply air. By default, the max temperature is 25 degrees. On the next page, we can configure the controller to use an external setpoint device. And on the I/O page, you can check the current values on your configured inputs and outputs. Lastly, we press OK to confirm the settings made. Leaving the configuration level, we arrive at the controller clock. The first variable is the smaller digit, which represents the day of the week. For example, to set it to Thursday, we turn the knob to number 4. After that, we set the hour, and minutes. Next, the scheduler menu is where we can configure up to 4 time channels. each one defined by an on and an off value. The first value sets the day of the week. 1 through 7 represents the individual days from Monday to Sunday. Number 8 means all working days, and 9 is the entire week. In this example, we select 8 to configure a time channel to cover all working days. We set the starting time to 7 AM and the stop time to 6 PM. After this, it is possible to configure the remaining 3 time channels if necessary, but we will just leave them unused. Finally, the last page is where we see the current output status and can choose to manually override the setting. In this example, the output is on. If we change it to off, it will remain in that state either until it's manually reactivated or until the next time channel on period begins.
Press OK to finish the configuration. Back in normal operations mode, push the knob to access the setpoint menu. To adjust the setpoint, push the button once again, then turn the knob to enter the desired setpoint. Press the button again to confirm.
And that's it. You have now configured Control Mode 3 on the Optigo 10. Good job, and thanks for watching this video from Regin Academy.